The transfer portal has closed. We're going to talk about the names that we know, and we are going to talk a little Arizona EYBL because there's a fascinating strategy going on.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. This episode is brought to you today by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege, monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. All right, now we got a lot to get to this show. We are going to talk about, we're going to talk obviously about Arizona basketball. We are going to talk about the transfer portal. We are going to talk about a cornucopia of different things. Now, the first thing that we need to talk about is who are some of these players that have entered the transfer portal. Now, keep in mind that not all of this is going to be released yet. So we've got to keep that one in mind. So, but some of the players that have entered that I wanted to talk a little bit about. Let's talk about Desmond Claude. Now, I don't really care about the difference between a small forward and a power forward at the college level. It's basically the same thing. A small forward and a shooting guard if they're big. It doesn't really bother me a ton, to be honest with you. So there's obviously that. But the first thing that I think we need to really discuss, though, is who are some of these players, though. And Desmond Claude is the first one that I'm looking at. He is an interesting player. I like him a lot. He's 6'6". Now you got to remember too that he can do a lot. He can be a ball handler. He's not what he thinks necessarily as a primary ball handler. But if he wants to be a secondary guy, I can totally see that. So the one thing, though, that I think you also need to look at is who are some of these other ones that could be, who are some of these other players that could really contribute and pick up some of that. And I'm saying the first thing that you look at is with Claude, he can score the basketball. That is that's a big aspect in all of this, is that he can score the basketball. And he can get rebounds, and he's a decent passer. Now, again, he turns the ball over probably too much, but I also think that that's something that has to do with playing in a an Andy Enfield offense where you're just kind of doing exactly what you want to do. That to me is never going to necessarily work with a lot of kids. So there's obviously that. The thing that I find interesting about him, though, again, he's 6'6", and that's something that I'm like, I like about him. So we will, like I said, we will see. He's an interesting guy, though. So one to definitely keep an eye on. And again, there's some other players too that we're going to look at and talk about what they can do. Now, the Shamir Watkins is another one. Obviously, Shamir Watkins, it sounds like he wants to stay in the draft. So that's a we'll see. But I want to stay in the draft too. That doesn't mean that I'm going to stay in the draft. But Shamir Watkins, though, is really, really good. He's the kind of player that you look at and you're like, all right, what more can he do for me? He's another one. He can get buckets. I know that the spacers won't like him, but I don't really care about that. He's a bucket getter. And I think that we saw last year that the one thing that you need guys that can get to the bucket. You need guys that can score the basketball. And I think that's something that you look at and you're like, okay, let's bring that one on. Let's see what he can do. He can also pass the ball a little bit. He's bigger. He's physically a little bit more gifted. So somebody like that, I would love to have as well. Now, the thing that we need to keep in mind, in all of this, though, is where exactly is with Carter Bryant in all of this in the grand scheme of things. Carter Bryant to me he's an interesting guy. He is I like Carter Bryant. A great deal. But like I said, it's not been the best situation here for Arizona because they need him to They need him to be able to make that decision. But again, at the same time, you're also not going to force a young man like that to make that decision, especially too, because there's a very real chance he could come back. We shall see, but I do believe that his camp is given a very real possibility to him coming back. And if that's the case, then obviously that's a massive, massive win for the U of A. Listen, I don't want to do the thing that Sheer does, where you basically you kind of downplay anybody that wasn't here, but he did average 6 and 4 last year, so we do need to keep that one in mind here a little bit. He did average 6 and 4, so obviously there is that. Now, the other thing too that I think we need to discuss quite a bit is where is then Arizona with some of these other players now. Tyler Harris is an interesting one out of Washington. Now, the Spacers love Tyler Harris. He's 6'8". He's 190 pounds. He's from Washington. He can shoot the three. He can shoot the three a little bit. He also blocked a shot. He's 6'8". I don't mind him, actually. The more I look at him, the more I'm like, I can kind of see that. And again, he's 6'8". He gives you positional size, some flexibility there. I don't hate that one. That was brought to my attention, and you know what? I don't hate that one. So we'll see how Tyler Harris plays out. But I do like that. I think that you could win. I think you could win a lot of games with him as your small forward. You got him. Then you've got Burries, and then you've got Burries, and then you've got Jaden Bradley on the perimeter. Then you got Dwayne Aristod, and you've got and then you've got ADO. That's not a bad perimeter. As a matter of fact, I think that one would be ready to go, locked and loaded. All right, so Tyler Harris, I'm not totally opposed on. So we shall see. Either way, though, I think that the small forward spot that everybody's stressing about right now is going to work itself out just fine. Whether that's Carter, whether that's an NBA withdrawal guy, or whether that's somebody like a Tyler Harris from Washington, I think Arizona is going to be good to go. The other thing, too, is that I think people also need to understand that Arizona right now is Arizona has some of the best roster flexibility that it's had here during Tommy Lloyd's time period. And a lot of that has to do with Koa Pete. I think a lot of people are missing the boat here. Koa Pete is going to be the best ball handling big man. And again, it's not like he's going to be bringing the ball up the court, but he is going to be the best ball handling big man that Tommy Lloyd has had during his time at the U of A. He's going to be able to do a lot of things. He's going to be able to face. He's going to be able to score the basketball. And I think that's something that you're obviously really hoping that he can do. I think that's something that you're really hoping that he can do, and I think that he's going to show that. He can do just that. We will see. But I do like him. I think he's a really good player. The one thing that I do look at him, though, is I say, that shooting maybe not necessarily there, but he's going to be a player that I think is going to be able to really do some things for U of A fans. But it's that small forward position that everybody is. I think is really focused on, and rightfully so. I get it. I get it. It's customary to worry. Tommy's shown that he knows what to do when it comes to recruiting bigs, and when it comes to recruiting, I think wings just in general. I think he's going to be more. I think Arizona's going to be more than fine. I look for, like I said, I have no inside information on who that's going to be, but I do think that that's going to be I do think that's a roster that's going to be interesting to watch. So like I said, we shall see how that one plays out. Also, people, ADO isn't nearly as bad. Again, I don't expect him to start, but people, ADO isn't nearly as bad as people are trying to make him out to be right now. People are making it out like ADO has literally never been able to has never been able to do anything good in basketball. That's obviously not true. He's a lot better, I think, than some people are giving him credit for. So we shall see. Again, you got to the Sweet 16 with him starting, so it's not like he's total garbage or anything like that. So people, be nice to ADO. We're also going to talk again about what possibility there is there for Aristod. But first, Monarch Money, my friends. Monarch Money. Okay, check it out. All right, here's the deal with Monarch Money. all kinds of good stuff with them. All right. Here, ever check your bank account and wonder where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Market Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you just stop managing your money and start building. Get off just kind of that easy path right there, and then just start doing that. Surprising insights. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save more. A lot of people like that. Now, all-in-one convenience, instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Again, managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can check shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Again, check it out. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Monarch Money, another one of these. You're going to thank me later. And again, start building wealth, not just getting by. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about Dwayne Aristod. Then we're going to get to some recruiting here. Aristod, to me, is, like I said, we're going to find out. If Aristod's really a top 15 player when he's healthy and he's good to go, then Arizona is going to be in really, really good shape. We like I said, though, we'll see how this plays out, but I am cautiously optimistic on him. Again, you look at his stats, you look at what he's able to do, and he's a next level player. We'll see how good he is, but we shall, like I said, we shall see. Now, as far as some of the recruiting priorities then that are going on with this roster, I would expect Arizona to add a developmental big man. We shall see who he is, but I would expect Arizona will offer a developmental big man. Don't know who he is. Well, maybe I do, but we shall see. So now let's talk a little bit about the Arizona EYBL. If anybody should, I'm going to be up there Saturday. If you all want to go up there, that should be, it's going to be a lot of fun. Going to be some really, really good players up there. Some of the ones that we need to talk about, obviously, are Cam Holmes. Talked about him yesterday. Cam Holmes is a stud. Cam Holmes is is one of the top 15 players in the entire country. You watch him and you're like, man, that's what a one and done looks like. Arizona has been recruiting him forever. And there's a reason they've been recruiting him forever, because he's good. And that's, like I said, that's what you want. That's what you want in a player like him. Again, he's a wing. He could come in 6'6", do a lot of different things. When you watch him, you can tell after like 5 minutes, yeah, this guy's the goods. He knows what he's doing. Like I said, a really, really good basketball player, and I think somebody that Arizona would be ecstatic to pick up. Obviously, the brother of Deron Holmes. So, there's some good stuff there, going on there as well. So he's going to be there. I would imagine Darius Wobbington. I like Darius Wobbington a great deal. Kid out of Sunny Slope, 6'11", can shoot the three, can move. I think he would commit to Arizona in no time flat if Arizona offered him. I think that would be a done deal, and I think that would be a done deal almost immediately. So there's, like I said, he's that. Cam Thomas is another one. Cam Thomas is Cam Williams. I like Cam Williams a great deal. He is like I said, he's a stretch guy. He's long, and he is, like I said, he's a good player. Love Arizona to get him as well. Arizona finally offered him. There's a lot of kids in state, though. We're going to keep talking about it. There are a lot of kids in state. And he is, like I said, he is at the top of the list. So, those guys, people to keep an eye on. Mason McGee's another one. So there's obviously that. Now, there's something interesting too that's going on. You look at California, and this is something that Tommy Lloyd has done a very good job of. he's done a very good job of, and that's recruiting California. I mean, he's shown that that is a top priority for what he wants to do, and rightfully so. The California class is absolutely loaded. It's one of the top. Classes in the area. This might be one of the most loaded classes in the entire country. And keep in mind, too, what's really amazing about 2020, the 2026 class, is that Elijah Arenas should have been in that one as well. He reclassified. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, the first thing is with Elijah Arenas, with this class, is the top 5 players in the country by 24/7 are all in California. I don't know that I've ever seen that. I don't know that I've ever seen that before, but that's obviously something that's interesting. So the number 1 is Teron Stokes. He's not going to end up at the U of A. He's probably going to end up at Kansas or BYU. He's really, really good. Very, very good. Right, about 6'7", 230 pounds, whatever. So then after that, Brandon McCoy, but it sounds like Brandon McCoy is going to take a little bit of a drop. Then after that, it gets interesting. You got players that the Arizona coaching staff are in on. You start looking at a Taj Ariza, who I didn't think that Arizona would ever really have a chance with. Taj Ariza is very, very interesting. He's a player that, you watch him and you're kind of like, all right, what exactly can Taj Ariza bring? And he can bring about everything. That's like I said, he is a good player. You like having a guy like Taj Ariza if you can get him. So we'll see how that one does play out. But I do think that like I said, I do think he's a very fascinating guy to be able to watch in all of this. Now, the next one too that we need to talk about is, where is Arizona then when it comes to Christian Collins? That is going to be a top priority for the University of Arizona, is getting Christian Collins. He is he's like I said, he is a really, really good player. He is a guy that, you watch and you're kind of like, all right. You know how good he is. Arizona really wants to get him. Not only does Arizona really want to get him, he would be the kind of guy that would be a first round, top 5 pick in the country, something like that. He's really, really good, and Arizona's in on him. So Arizona's shown when it comes to California kids that they know how to get who they want. Now, Kylan Boswell obviously didn't work out. So I get all of that. Kylan Boswell didn't work out, but he is he was still a kid that Arizona really prioritized and was highly rated and they wanted. So, I mean, I can't really hold that against him. Now, then you got Carter Bryant, then you got Braden Burries, then you got, so again, you got players that are really, really good throughout this discussion. So they know what they're doing with California, and I think it's a good strategy. Like I said, I wish that they offered more players. I don't understand why they don't offer more players, but it's also a group of guys that are, very, very talented. So he gets them. That's what it is. Now, the strategy, though, about not offering a ton of kids is an interesting one. I do think that we are also at the stage, too, with Arizona where every single year I expect there to be something like there was this past year. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about where we are at now when it comes to Lloyd's recruiting and that strategy. We'll find out, like I said, but I do think that now after 2025, you should be able to have a bunch of guys that are going to be able to kind of be in that assembly line. 2025 is that's your top 5 class. Then 2026, you need to be able to bounce back on that one, and I think you're going to be able to. Again, you got a lot of different guys. You got your Cam Williams, you got your Cam Holmes, you got your dudes like that. So you've got to be able to factor that one in. Then 2027. More of the same. You've got highly rated guys in state and in California. That's clearly where Tommy is. Making his bones. Is that it's going to be in state and it's going to be in Southern California, and that's what you should do if you're the U of A. Because again, I don't care what anybody says. Kids want to play in front of their family. That's always going to be the way it is. And Again, the TV makes a difference, but Southern California kids are always going to be destined to probably play at Southern California or at, in that area. And so there's there's obviously that when it comes into play. Now, the other thing that with this is, what should realistic expectations be for Arizona each year? And I think realistic expectations each year should be a top 10 to 15 recruiting class, because if it's a top 10 to 15 recruiting class, then I think it's hard to argue that you can't win with that. So now, listen, the thing that with the portal's a little bit interesting, though, because kids in the portal are going to cost more than kids that are actually in the your domestic high school recruits, because they're more proven. You'd say whether it works or not, but a guy like a Donovan Dent was he's getting $3 million, whatever the case may be. Yeah, he's more proven, but is he going to be that much better than, say, someone like Braden Burries at the Power 5 level? We'll see. I don't know. Maybe he is, but we shall see. It just kind of goes to that way. Now, a couple things that we need to talk about too. That want to give a couple shout outs. Conrad Martinez. It looks like Conrad will be going to High Point, or at least that is that's a lot of the rumors. Conrad, I'm curious to see how Conrad does at the Power 5 or at the not the Power 5 level. We know how that worked out. I'm curious to see how Conrad does at a smaller level. Listen, I thought Conrad played fairly well when he got in these games, but again, Tommy Lloyd talking about how he could play him at all this time, that was a lot of hot air. So, you got to keep that in mind. Now, the other one too that you need to keep a close eye on, Dylan Anderson. Dylan at Murray State. Dylan Anderson at Murray State, my friends. Listen, I like Dylan a great deal. The bike obviously changed the trajectory. He was injured. I get all of that, but I am hopeful that Dylan Anderson can go out with a bang. Dylan, I were to tell you that this time last year that Dylan would be a how do I put this? Dylan would be a player that would be getting be on his third school after not playing at Boise State, and that Henry Vasar would be getting $2 million from North Carolina. I'm not sure you would believe me, not sure I'd believe myself, but that's the way it is. Sometimes you got to be able to just to be able to go with what you know. And sometimes waiting is okay. They're finding out, Murray State, Washington, Boise State. He would have played at Arizona, and he would have played more than he did at Boise State. So there's that, obviously. But I think both those guys are going to be interesting. Now, tomorrow we're going to talk about the NFL draft to a certain degree. T-Mac time, baby. T-Mac time. I expect, like I said, Arizona for the second straight year should have a first round pick, you, baby. And, who knows? Maybe they got a second round pick in there. Maybe Big Jonas Savaiinaea slides in there as well. Who knows? That could certainly be the case. But it's going to be exciting to see how this plays out for Arizona. Obviously, this wasn't a good year for Arizona this past year, but I think you can also make the case, too, that it's nowhere to go but up. And we're going to talk about that. I am cautiously optimistic about Arizona football this year. We shall see. Now we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about more portal news. We're going to talk about Carter Bryant. Carter Bryant's got to announce his some decision here shortly, and we shall see how that plays out. But again, he's doing everything by the book. The staff knows what he's doing. They're in constant contact, so we'll see how this does play out. But either way, Arizona is going to be just fine. They got money to spend. They got a name. They got guys in the portal that they can get, and you're going to find some other guys too with coaching changes, fifth-year eligibility transfers, all of that stuff. So it's going to be kind of a free for all. So that's it's going to be interesting. But again, we're going to talk more Arizona EYBL. We're going to be there, boots on the ground, baby. And we're going to talk, more about Arizona hoops and stuff. By the way, big shout out Arizona baseball continuing to defy the haters. And that's been fun to watch as well. But overall, obviously still an awesome time to be an Arizona Wildcat fan. And we will be back with you tomorrow. But as always, very much appreciate you all making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day I'm your host, Mike Luke. Bear down, back the A, locked on, your first listen of the day. We will talk with you tomorrow.